All right. Now that's rolling. Hello, everyone. Very nice to see some of you. Actually, it's nice to see all of you. Just that I see a few of you on video already. So good. I'm Gautam Pacharavi, and I'm the project team lead for the OpenStack Manila project. And I'd like to welcome all of you. Thank you so much for joining. This is the first day of the Xena cycle project team gathering. And all we're doing today is retrospective. So we're just rehashing what happened in the last cycle and, talking about the good things, bad things, things that we need to improve upon for the next cycle and beyond. And maybe we'll do a preview of what's happening for the rest of the week as well. This is the last hour of today's PTG, wherever else. So all of the other sessions should also be wrapping up around the same time this session is going to be. So let me point you to the Xena PTG Etherpad. So we're going to be using two Etherpads today. One of them is the top level master Etherpad that's going to contain links to any other Etherpads if the topics demand. Like for example, this one. Since we're doing a retrospective meeting, we typically tend to put the whole meeting, capture the whole thing in a different Etherpad, separating concerns over there. So that's the Etherpad, the second link on the box. And yeah, so let's begin with maybe folks that want to introduce themselves and talk about what they're doing, what brings them here into the Manila room. I already started. I work for Red Hat. That's the preset I didn't mention perhaps, and I've been the project team lead for a couple of cycles now. I don't even remember when I started, but it's been a while. And so I will be the project team lead through the Xena cycle, and I work with an awesome team. And I get to talk to most of you every day, so I know who you are. But for the new people that joined, if you'd like to introduce yourselves. Carlos, do you want to start?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Carlos. I'm a contributor to Manila as well. So I became a core reviewer like a few cycles ago, and I've been contributing most to Manila core code and maintaining the NetApp driver and NetApp CI. So I guess that's it.
Thank you, Victoria.
Sure. Hi, folks. I am Victoria. I'm a contributor for Manila. Have been around for a couple of cycles now. I am a colleague for Gotham. I also work at Red Hat, and my contributions to Manila have been mostly focused last couple of cycles to the Ceph drivers, and also to the Manila UI and the clients.
Awesome. Mari?
Hi, everyone. I'm Mari. I work at the City Network. I've been in the Manila team a couple cycles now. I started as an outreach intern, and then I've been contributing as much as I can from my free time since then. It's not always very consistent, but I'm still here. I do my best. Very nice to see everyone again, and I hope to meet everyone in person one day, finally.
Awesome. Tom?
I'm Tom Barron. I've been around Manila for a while now. I worked as PTL before Gotham and gave him a nice baseline to he could improve. But anyway, I really enjoy working on Manila. I've worked in Ceph in the past, although Victoria's more the lead on that now. I've recently been quite involved with Kubernetes on top of OpenStack, and in particular with Manila as providing what they call RWX storage. So that's been kind of a diversion, but an interesting integration for Manila. I'm hoping to. I'm moving to a more of a part-time role, I think, but I think you'll still see me around some. So just enough to get in the way from time to time.
Awesome. Douglas.
Hello, I'm Douglas. I'm one of the core reviewers from Manila. I've been working in the past in some bug fixes and features for Manila. Recently, I joined the Red Hat team, the Triple team. So I intend to continue working with the Manila side also and working in cross projects and projects. And I will be here, hopefully.
Awesome. What else do I see? All right. Hi, Xene. Do you want to say hi? Oh, that's okay. As long as you
can hear
us.
me.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm very happy to meet to meet here. I don't know what to say. I'm just happy.
Yep. No, that was awesome. Thank you for joining. It's way too late in your day. As usual, apologies for this thing. I wish time zones were, worked a little, on a flatter scale. All right, Maurice, do you want to say hi?
Yep. Hi, my name is Maurice Escher. I am with SAP and we run an internal OpenStack on top of Kubernetes, where I'm responsible for running Manila. And yeah, our Manila is backed by NetApp ONTAP, and we run it with share server management. And so that's why my bug reports and contributions are often in that area.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, I think I went through the usual suspects. If I missed somebody out, I mean, speak up now, and then we can, I see Fernando.
Hello.
Hi.
Yep. Yeah, I can just introduce myself. Yeah. So Fernando, I work with Jake and Carlos on the maintaining NetApp drivers. I'm currently more focused on senior drivers, so on senior ONTAP and certified drivers. But I'm also like going to participate during this PTG at least for the sessions that are not conflicting with senior. And yeah, if I can contribute in anything, that would be nice.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Fernando. Hey, hi, Sophia. Hi, Eric. These are friends from Cinder. If you want to introduce yourselves.
Hey, Gotham. Hey, I'm Sophia Enriquez. As Gotham said, we work mostly on Cinder, but I'm interested in Manila and hope I could contribute one day soon.
Awesome. Eric says hi on chat. Eric works with us at Red Hat, and he's a core contributor to Cinder. As usual, I mean, we derive a lot through Cinder. There's a lot of cross-pollination, mostly on that way, and so we get to blame them for our problems. But yeah, thanks for joining us, both of you. I see Paul. Paul, do you want to say hi?
Hi, can you see me?
Yay, we can see you now.
Okay, I'm Paul. I'm a personal treaty intern for the Manila project, and yeah, it's nice to put faces to everyone. To the names I see on RC. It's been fun, it's been a learning experience, and it's been pretty intense. But thank you for meeting you all.
That's awesome. Glad you can make it. You could make it.
It's okay. You're welcome. Anytime.
Yep. Hi, Jake. I'm not sure we've met before.
Sorry, I was trying to multitask for a second there. I'm the product manager on the NetApp side. And
nice.
so I work with Carlos and Felipe, and I used to work with Douglas and Fernando and the team. So, and Kaiki now. So hi to everyone, and I'll just mostly be a fly on the wall and just try to get a sense of how the community works and learn from the process. It's my first PTG, so I'll just be learning from you guys. So.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, Kaiki, you want to say hi?
Kaiki, I see you are unmuted, but we can't hear you. Hi, at least not.
Now, can you listen?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I recently joined the team, Fernando and Carlos, and as Jake has said, and it's my first PTG as well. So I'm getting into it. It's very good. Nice to meet you guys. And it's this.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, and glad to see you, and hope you enjoy your first PTG. It's going to be the first PTG for a few folks. Always nice to see that. Fernando? Oh, you already said hi. Sorry. I just saw you come on video, and I was like, oh, that's new.
Okay.
All right. I see Felipe.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Felipe. I am also a contributor at of the Manila project, mainly maintaining the NetApp drivers. I've been working since issue release, so issue Victoria, and then Wallaby. The last release Wallaby, I've been away because I was focused on Cinder, and I'm also planning to the next release. I will be more working again with the Manila project. So yeah.
Awesome. Welcome back. While you were away, you did like 3 or 4 big changes to Manila. So I'm excited to see what you'll bring when you're not away. So that's cool. Thanks for joining us. Eduardo?
Hi guys, this is my second PTG. I am part of the NetApp team. I am an intern at Flex, and I'm currently majoring on computer engineering. I mainly worked on some minor bug fixes for the Manila project, and I also worked on a new feature for the container driver in this the Wallaby release that me and Carlos will talk about in day 4, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Eduardo. Allison?
Hello. Also, I work with Eduardo and Fernando in Flex. I'm started working on Paystack last week. So it's the first PTG that I'm attending.
Awesome. Welcome. All right. I held off on Kafilat. I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm very glad that you're joining us. Thank you so much for all the for all the contributions you've been making. Do you want to say hi?
Hello. Hi, hello. My name is Tafila Tadedeke. I'm from Nigeria. I'm an outreach applicant.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Very excited to have an outreach applicant join us. That's two PTGs in a row. That's really cool. Always nice to see you and help you along your way. Awesome. Did I miss out anybody? All right. We went through 18 introductions in 19 minutes. That's a record. That's pretty cool. Cool, everyone. So let's step right into the retrospective. So we're going to go over what were the highlights and lowlights of the Wallaby cycle, and I will try my best to keep typing as we go over them. And you can interrupt me at any time. This is pretty informal. And if you want to take a couple of minutes to add your retrospective notes, now is the time to do that. I'll just go from the top down. So if you want to add notes, please add them at the bottom of each section. So there are a couple of sections out there, which is what went well, what needs improvement, and what are some of the discussion items that you'd want to bring up in today's retrospective. And at the very end, we're going to take some action items down and work on the things that need improvement. So let's get started first with talking about last cycle's action items. So we had a pretty successful bug squash event in the Victoria cycle, and we said at the Wallaby PTG that we'd like to do some more of those. So we did 2 bug squash sessions in the Wallaby cycle. One at at M1 and one after M3. And for those that don't know, milestone 1 and milestone 3, these aren't release milestones for us. These are just bug targeting deadlines. And milestone 1 and milestone 3 are wedged in the right place because we stopped working on features after milestone 3. We are only concentrating on bug fixes before we ship out the release candidate. So it's a nice time to have a bug squash, especially looking at all the new bugs or any bugs that got reported during the cycle that haven't gotten enough attention. Also, it was a great time to welcome some new contributors that joined us during the cycle and help them out as they try to land their bug fixes and stuff. The M1 bug squash was meant to be focused around big and disruptive changes, things that could have API impacts and stuff. So I mean, along those lines. So I think both of those were based off the feedback we collected in the last PTG. Documentation improvements, we've been making them over the cycle, so I guess we're going to continue to do that for the upcoming cycle as well. Specifically, the feature support matrix that needs a relook. This didn't happen during the Wallaby cycle, but if there's somebody that's interested in looking at this, this isn't code, but this is mostly a way for us to signal to end users what optional features they can use and what backends support these optional features and stuff. So it's an important piece of documentation that's usually referred to by anybody that's using Manila and invoking any of these optional features. So that's so if you're looking to help, that's one great area to help. Please get in touch with me or Douglas, who we've both looked at this in the past, and we can help you figure out what needs to be done and how you can help us. Continue on community mentoring efforts. I think we hit this right out of the ballpark. So we had, I think, 1 or 2 interns in the Victoria cycle. We had a total of 5 interns during the Wallaby cycle. So that's crazy. And I guess we had an amazing, we did great as a team mentoring these interns. We'll discuss a little bit of that in a bit. And get feature review participation from driver maintainers and deployers. I really liked the effort that was put to get this feedback. Thank you. Every time Carlos, Douglas pushed new features that could impact other vendor drivers, they went out to the mailing list and reached out and asked for feedback. Did the same thing with the CFFS driver changes. We looked for feedback from the community that was using these drivers and stuff. So that's pretty good. I mean, in terms of the responses, we definitely did appreciate the reviews that came by because of these outreach efforts. Prioritize long pending low hanging fruit. So you'll see some of this in the bug impact that came down. So let's dive into what went well. As we said, bug squash event, a huge success. We kind of modified it a little bit. Vida is not here today. Vida is our bug czar, and she did a phenomenal job, as she has done in the last few cycles, in keeping our bugs always groomed, always responded to, and always the right kind of priority and who gets assigned and when that bug is picked up, etc. And she's also been trying to use some really cool bug triage techniques, where she picks up bugs that have been lingering for a long time, and she surfaces them at regular intervals in community meetings, so that those bugs get attention. Also, we get to discuss if to reprioritize a bug, for instance, or to ask ourselves, is this bug still an occurrence, or has it already been fixed due to something else, etc. So that part is going really great, and huge props to her for leading that effort. And she was also influential in saying that at the M1 bug squash that we had was a single day effort, and that we had a lot of people that started working on those bugs, on their bugs during the single day, but that the bug fix itself took a couple of days to land. So she said, let's look at it at a different way. Maybe we can do the M3 bug squash as a whole week effort. So we just open up the whole, the bug squash event for the whole week. During the week, all we're doing is looking at new bugs, finding assignees, helping them land their fixes, reviewing it as much as possible, getting it merged as well within that week. And I think that went great. You'll see that in the bug numbers. So we resolved 47 bugs in a cycle. Huge number that is. And the number of bugs that were filed in the Wallaby cycle were 79. And I don't have the breakdown of how many of these new bugs were resolved among the 47 that was there. So we can ask for the breakdown when we see Vida next. But I think it's really cool momentum on the bugs and create accountability across the team. Any comments on that? Oh, I see pluses, so that's cool. So everybody agrees. Addition of new core members. Yeah, this has been great as well. So this is something that we set out to do a few cycles ago. We said we'd have a mentorship path for folks that want to be code maintainers. So all you have to do is let us know that I'd like to be a core reviewer, and we kind of define a path. It's been a little more informal than there's no wiki or a document that says what you're supposed to be doing and when, but there's all sorts of documentation on what to do and how to review. So we've been able to hold hands with new folks, etc., and teach them good review practices and correct them along the way, as well as and also kind of encourage other people to sign up to be maintainers. So the result of this, we actually have 2 new Manila Tempest plugin reviewers, and we were able to add Maury as a Python Manila client reviewer, co-reviewer, and that process I think is working out well. I have the same kind of expectations for the next person that comes on to the Manila core team. You can actually come on to one of these sub teams, and then as you start getting more familiar with the rest of the code base, we just keep adding more sub teams, and eventually you'd be a Manila maintainer across these repos. So that process is working well. Thank you for participating in it, as well as for those of you that have been mentoring other members. It's just amazing. Thanks for that work. Any comments on that? Nope. See smiles and pluses. Thank you. All right. So 2 successful outreach interns. Very, 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 very proud of this achievement for us. This is the first cycle that any OpenStack team, I think, had two outreach interns at the same time. So we were a little, it was a lot of work to do, but I was very glad for, both of these interns, the kind of learning they had through the whole release. And for us, we reached out to the wider community. We actually found some resources that the interns could use. And we were able to generate some PR as well for the interns, provide them with learning resources, help from other parts of the OpenStack community. So all of that worked great in the Wallaby cycle, and we're stoked. We actually have 2 project proposals for the next outreachy round. We hope we could pick up at least one or two interns for these 2 projects that we've proposed. We also did another kind of internship with Boston University in the last cycle. So we had 3 students at Boston University collaborate with members of this community to work on the OpenStack SDK. So they added support for Manila APIs in the OpenStack SDK. They're still doing that. They're going to be working on that through May of this year. So through next month, and I think a little bit of June. So we're still going to, and we're going to meet these interns on Thursday, I think. So that's about the interns from my end. It's been great. Thank you so much for mentoring these interns. It's considerable work, but this is work that will pay off in terms of getting solid contributors like Paul or Mari, and or actually we're in the presence of eminence here. Like Mari, Sophia, Paul, Victoria, all of you are outreachy graduates. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. No, actually, yeah, huge round of applause for these guys. I mean, it's amazing, and for you to continue to be part of this community, especially the Manila team. I'm very impressed and very, very happy. Thank you. And hope we can add Kafila to that list and keep growing that list. Any comments on this, on the outreach internships or the Boston University internships?
Just to second you, Gotham, it was a great experience last round with regards to Richie. We had great interns and we got really good improvements on the Manila UI, a project that we didn't care as much as we wanted in the last cycles. We got a lot of improvements there, which I hope we can discuss in the Manila UI session. Also, a great work on the design for limit support for Manila. That's work that Paul has been doing and he will share later this week. And also on the Manila support in the OpenStack SDK, which is a project that the Boston students have been working on. All of them projects that have a real impact on end users, and that definitely also it's a great opportunity for those interns to get familiar with code that is real world use code, and that allows them to kickstart their careers and get a taste on what is to contribute to OpenStack community. So definitely great stuff that I hope we can showcase later this week.
Yep, more of that to come. Thank you, Victoria. All right. Huge feature velocity. All right, this was at least some of you saw the OpenStack service project update session that happened last week, and one of the biggest things for me was I didn't know what I could drop from that list and fit into a 5-minute update, because there was a lot that happened this cycle, and the only way you could really tell, I think at least, is to look at the release notes for the services, each of the individual repositories. So do take a look at that, and I feel like we put a lot of effort right from the get-go. I mean, you can see at various milestones how the feature velocity kept going. There is some fallout of that. We'll discuss in a bit. But I think thank you so much for all the effort that you put in. Our users are going to love the Wallaby cycle just for all that work that went in. Any questions, concerns, comments on that? Awesome. And the next point actually relates to that on stability. A thing over here is the way we're currently using the Manila Tempest plugin and all of the CI tests and CI test jobs. So since the Victoria cycle, we kind of are taking a pretty good stance on CI and how we're doing feature testing, API testing, etc. with Manila Tempest plugin, and it's actually happening elsewhere outside of the CI as well. So the Manila Tempest plugin is now being used in the interop suite as part of ref stack testing as well. It's being used in OOO, in OpenStack Ansible, in lots of different projects that actually test how good, how the API holds up release over release, for instance. So that part's continued to have focus, and I'm very glad we actually added Liron and Vida as core reviewers over there, so we can continue to be to drive that project, the test project. As well as I don't think we're compromising on any bit of CI testing. We didn't add any new CI jobs as such in the Wallaby cycle, but we've been doing well, at least at maintaining the ones that we have, including for testing some of these newer drivers, or rather older drivers such as cluster on the CI all the time now, because we now have maintainers for that driver. So that's what that point was about. I think with the kind of bug fix velocity, also you take a look, we're tending towards a pretty mature project at this point. All right, another call out that I wanted to make was across project interactions. And this is where I think the team has shown a lot of growth. And by team, I mean all of us individually. When we're talking to other projects and stuff like that. So the takeaway was this: that before, I don't know, maybe my first cycle as PTL, when I was looking at Tom doing a lot of these cross project interactions and stuff, it felt like the PTL role was a lot of work. Because you're held up all the time. If somebody wants to talk to you about your project, etc., you're the one that's going to be dialed. But I saw some of that actually disappearing or reducing during this cycle, but the discussions kept increasing. And the reason that happened is because more people took responsibility of different aspects of this. Like, for example, I think Victoria and Dina did a great job working with the Horizon team when changes were made on Manila UI, either whether it was in terms of consulting with them, asking if a change was kosher with respect to how Horizon does things, or hey, here's a breaking change coming in Horizon, and the Horizon folks are actively reaching out to Victoria and Dina and letting them know as they're writing their changes about how to work with things, etc. And the same thing happened with Victoria and the whole the Ceph effort. Victoria was able to communicate with the NFS Ganesha community, the Ceph community internally at Red Hat, externally the upstream communities themselves. And so that's a lot of really cool cross-project collaboration that happened. The same thing can be said for the secure RBAC work. We had a lot of folks that looked into the Manila code base probably for the first time and helped us out with the whole, getting that goal completed. So, I mean, these are just examples. I feel I see a lot every day interactions from the team to other project teams and inwards from other project teams into the team itself. So this is great work. We should just keep doing more of it. So my job reduces as a PTL. Any comments, concerns, questions? Nope. All right, let's move on to the last one, review sessions for big changes. This is another thing that we did more of. I think we had 3 collab reviews. Sorry, didn't mean to type that big. We had 3 collab review sessions. And if you have not been in one of these or not seen these, we published these to YouTube in the Manila channel. So do take a look, and I'll drop a link over there in a bit. But the idea of a collab review is when we have a change that we've discussed here at the PTG, or even worked on through the cycle, and we tend to bring all reviewers together on a call, and we go over the code. So whoever's writing the code probably gives us a code walkthrough, maybe a demo, and explains exactly some of the design decisions that went into the implementation of that code. And this kind of reduces the amount of back and forth stuff that happens on Gerrit itself, and so keeps and definitely helps the patch merge faster, because all of these major questions are asked and answered on a synchronous call. So we started doing that a few cycles ago, and I think last cycle we had 3 of those collab review sessions. Typically we average between 1 and 2, so it's good that we're increasing the use of those collaborative reviews. Yep. Hey, Tom.
If I could just make a remark too, I think they're a great thing to join even if you don't know much about the particular area that's being reviewed. You might say, oh, well, what, I'm a little shy about joining because people will, nobody's going to call on you, and you can really learn a lot about something and areas of Manila that you may be new to you. So I would encourage you to do that. Also, you get to see people interact in a different way than on Gerrit.
Want to expand that a bit as well, because maybe it's worth noting that the format of those sessions usually include a brief presentation on the topic that we are reviewing and some basic explanation of what's going on. So even though that you are not so involved with the code that's been written, you get a notion of what's going on, and you get to know part of the code that probably, if you're not familiar with, you can definitely learn from there.
Amazing. Thank you. Any other comments on these collab reviews? How's the format working out? We tend to have these set out for about an hour at least, and we usually host it. We leave it up to the author of these changes, or whoever's proposing to come up with a platform that we can use. And so far we've not had an issue, whether it was Zoom or Blue Jeans or Jitsi or something. And it feels a lot like this. We're just in a space where somebody's sharing their screen and giving you a code walkthrough or a presentation or a demo.
Yeah, I guess the format's great, and happy we could like improve the amount of these sessions we've done during this release cycle, because like it's important and it's easier to understand the change when you get like an hour with the author and they try to explain to you some stuff, and then you can just keep like up to date with the change, and you can provide a review that is going to be like quicker than if we didn't have this session. So yeah, I guess it's pretty nice, and the format for me at least is great.
Yeah, helps a lot with removing some complexity. Like when you see a change that has, I don't know, 2,000 lines of code, maybe it's a bit overwhelming. So when you actually get to talk with the author, as Carlos mentioned, it makes it so much easier. So it definitely helps with the review and with the feature velocity that you were mentioned before.
Yep. We certainly have very few of those 10,000 line changes in Manila. So no, just kidding, but you're right. Like one of the biggest things is looking at the line count of the number of files that you touched and feeling really overwhelmed at what's happening. So it really helps getting walkthrough. And many a times, you know, maybe those changes are not as difficult or hard as you thought they were. Which is what I try to lead with. All of this is window dressing. The real change is 4 lines. All right. Anything else about the Collab reviews? Awesome. So what went well? I think we've covered all of it that was entered on this Etherpad. If you have anything else, now's the time to speak up. And I think the action items from each of these is keep doing what we're doing well for the Xena cycle as well. But let's step into what needs improvement. All right. The first 2 points on that, lines 40 and 41 are related. It is with respect to code review feedback and participation and reviewer burnout. Do you think they're related, or do we want to talk about code review feedback and participation first? Actually, yeah, let's break it down. Just to, I want to understand what this means. What were you thinking of when you know, in terms of how do we improve participation? How do we improve code review feedback, or was the point that it needs to be improved? So we can talk about how we can do that. Crickets. I can start. So the one of the things we see is you might actually think that, you know, there are a lot of folks that are adding code, so there must be a lot of folks reviewing code. That's actually false. This is false patently of everything in OpenStack in general, because there's definitely a lot more code contributors than reviewers. And I don't know. I've actually grappled with why that happens. For one, code reviewership actually feels, I don't know if it's more difficult, but maybe part of the thing is the hesitancy to review code, because you probably feel that it's not your responsibility to do so, for instance, because there's a core team that's associated with each service, and Manila is no different. So the core team's got to do the core, most of the code reviews. So you as a patch submitter doesn't have that responsibility. Well, that's as I said, it's probably a wrong assumption, and that's one of the reasons why that inverted thing is happening, which is there are more code submissions than than reviews themselves. Core reviewers are no different from you in the sense that you, as somebody that's authoring a change, actually probably has the best context for a given change. And you might be able to help with reviews that the reviews that are related, or code that's actually related and being submitted. But if you don't review those, you're relying on core reviewers to continuously keep looking at each patch and maybe sometimes do the wrong thing here, because we as reviewers, we are owners, but we don't really know everything about the code base. and maybe sometimes the decisions we take are not really the right ones because we don't really, we're not paying that much attention to the code as you are, as you're working through the project, or you're integrating your new feature or your bug fix, etc. So every time you think of submitting a submitting code, also think about, trying to do a review. That would be the best way, I think, we can increase review participation. And I guess we've published these review guidelines before. We've said please review. Everyone is welcome to review. And part of the thing that happens is, can I really review confidently enough that I can do a +1 or a -1? So that's another fallacy. Again, I don't think we are that confident about it most of the times. We rely on some of the times, other core reviewers. We discuss amongst ourselves. We're pinging each other, going like, hey, what do you think about this? Or we go look at some other code somewhere else in OpenStack to tell if something, looks right, feels right, etc. So we're no different to that hesitation. But we have to review it anyway.
On that matter, you don't always need to set a -1 or a +1. Like you can leave a 0 ranking, and that you can use that one for asking questions. For those that are familiar with my reviews, I do a lot of those because I'm usually full of questions for the authors, and I usually leave I don't know, maybe
Everything.
I don't know how to do it, or what do you mean with a 0 rank, and that at least helps with the discussion making afterwards.
Yeah, and if you have the question, probably somebody else does too, and you'll be doing a real favor by asking it and flushing out the answer. So yeah, you don't have to feel like, oh, well, I definitely have read this and I'm an expert in it now, and I can say whether we ought to merge this or not. You don't have to be to that point to participate in the conversation and help out.
Absolutely, and I have an example specifically for. Oh, I missed Floki. I have an example for the place where I was looking at folks reviewing something, right? OS Profiler, the recent change that came into Manila. I had no context of OS Profiler. I was going to go read documentation and look at the reviews, but the kind of questions that I saw and the notes that I had, just the author and the research that they had done, they would just put it down in their code submission. They had their their own self review, and then they had teammates probably from SAP review that code and call out some of those things and say, hey, this thing is happening in a different way in this other service. So as a reviewer that came later, all of that was good learning. And so that's the sort of thing we're looking for, like in terms of you're bringing in some net new stuff that the Manila community is not familiar with. If you could actually have all this context added, find some reviewers that can come in and do the reviews, it's going to help land that more solidly and more confidently for us to pull the trigger on that. And many a times, if you see folks not reviewing something, and by folks I mean there is no core reviewer attention on something, it's just because of this, that maybe they feel the core team feels that they don't have the expertise to look at that change. And the only way we can fix this is for everybody to do reviews proactively and ask the simple questions and the more complicated questions. That way, we're all collectively learning about something and filling our knowledge gaps. So that hopefully addresses the code review hesitancy piece. So I guess the message here is every review is really is helpful. Don't hold back. even if you don't have the confidence to do a plus or minus one, if you're looking at some code, that's still very helpful. Maybe you'll come up with a question or two and lead a discussion to a particular way. We're never going to be disrespectful or you know, we're always going to be thankful for you for your review, no matter how much of it you do. Awesome. Any other comments on that? So I had a point about this in the team, you know, improvements thing. So we'll discuss that separately and through the rest of the during the rest of the PTG. I've not slotted it to a particular time slot, but I think it's just going to show up, you know, when we have some time between topics right now. So the second point is how to avoid reviewer burnout, and it's related to this. So during the end of the last cycle, we had a lot to review. A lot of code went and was actually merged a week or two before the deadline. And we're talking, again, tens of thousands of lines of code. And some of these changes had these nice collab reviews sessions that we probably had, you know, more confidence merging something. But because we didn't have context to many of these changes, and because we didn't have, you know, the usual community reviews that would happen, a lot of these changes caused burnout because they ended up, you know, ending up in the plates of the very few core reviewers that we have. And this is something I really want to address for the, you know, health and longevity of this team, because that matters a lot to me, in the sense that I definitely want reviewers to be happy at the end of the day. Don't feel like, oh man, why am I doing so much work, you know, staying up late at night to get this thing immersed in Manila. It's definitely not the kind of, you know, burnout that I hope for this team. And so I guess you can tell me honestly if I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe I should be a little more, you know, upfront and say no to something and not sign up for it as on behalf of the team if we don't have review bandwidth for it. And that's an option. I mean, we've been welcoming and very accommodative of deadlines and stuff by stating them well in advance and helping people land their code, get their changes in, etc. But if that's coming at the cost of the team, we've got to balance this out. And burn out something we don't really want, because I mean, it's not healthy, and we're going to eventually look at attrition or something because of burnout. I really like how passionate folks here are, and so it's definitely everyone's responsibility to ensure that there's no burnout. So we'll try to constitute some more code review guidelines around this. But if you had suggestions, now's a good time to bring them up. All right, I'll let you think about it. We will rehash this during the PTG. But if you have some thoughts, please go ahead and add them over there. Last couple of points, and we're almost at the end of this hour. So let's just quickly try to get through them. Backports have slowed down. CI on the stable branches is broken. And this has been, I mean, this has been the case across the across OpenStack. You know, over a period of time, there's bit rot, there's degradation elsewhere, like services elsewhere are broken. Dependencies that we depend on no longer support the versions that we want, etc. So we, for instance, have had a proactive backport policy, which meant that every bug fix is kosher for the previous release, as long as it does not introduce a database migration or a change in the RPC versions. Everything else is pretty good. But and we've been good about taking backports back for as far as stable queens as well, the last maintained extended maintenance branch. But at the end of this cycle, I think from M2, we started seeing degraded gates. And we stopped working on these degraded gates. We stopped fixing CI jobs, which meant backports didn't land in these older branches. And that's still the case today. And part of the reason is we don't have the time and energy to spend on this, and we were doing it best effort. And one of the biggest things that that affected it was the whole Python 3, thing everywhere. Basically, I mean, there were some branches like train and older, which we had Python 2 jobs on, and the Python community no longer supports Python 2. So, I mean, we can't really even have some of our build systems rely on Python 2 anymore. So as a wider OpenStack community, that stuff is happening. But if you care about these older branches, we've got to work through them and to fix each one of them. And there's no one fix for all of these. There are several breakages. So if you look at something and if you want to help out, you're most welcome to do that. And that affects the stable branch release cadence. We used to have every 4 weeks, we used to have a stable branch release tag, but we've stopped doing that. If there are no significant changes, we would skip the tag. But as you can see, we have not had significant changes in these older stable branches because we have bad CI or broken CI at the moment. So this is a concern that we've got to be aware of, and there is real effort that's there to maintain this. Is that effort that we want to put in as a team? I would think there is still something to gain, because we know nobody's going to be using the Wallaby cycle just as Wallaby ships or something. So it makes sense for us to be able to keep those older stable branches maintained, but I wouldn't impose that as the PTL on this community. If I can get volunteers to do that, you'd be doing great service to the Manila community. But be aware that this is the problem and we need help. Any comments on that?
I certainly agree that it's a challenge. And I don't have a good sense of, for instance, how far back in terms of stable branches we actually have consumers and users, and whether the people who need it are also helping maintain it. I don't know how to channel that energy. I don't want us to, theoretically we could maintain stable branches forever, since the beginning of OpenStack. But that we would say, well, that's silly, because nobody's using the first versions of OpenStack anymore. At the other extreme, I don't know how, our downstream branch strategy is different, partly because we found as a business it was overwhelming to try to release every 6 months and test and maintain everything. So there's a tension here that's hard to, it's more than a Manila issue for sure. But I don't know how reasonable it is to expect that we maintain as many stable releases as we do.
Absolutely.
It's because of the breakage is usually, it's not the code under test. It's not the thing it's not the product that we're trying to release and work on. So we maintain a whole lot of tooling in different incompatible ways. And I wonder how much value we're getting out of it for all the variety we're doing. I'm just more stating the problem again from a different angle than coming up with a creative solution to it.
I think as you guys work through some of these complicated decisions to make. There is a sort of a business perspective I wanted to just bring to the conversation, which is not just from the technical cost of maintenance and the effort involved in maintenance. It's in the business decisions of the vendors, best case scenario, to begin to move those user bases forward as best and as quickly as possible. It's in everyone's interest to be able to do that, from supportability to driving the effectiveness of new features to all of those things. And so many of the support cases that we end up taking on are many, many releases old, also requesting backports and things of that nature. So just from your perspective, it's not just that you're spinning cycles you don't have, it's work you're not doing for the future, which will keep us relevant moving forward. So just whatever we can do.
It's a big damper on feature velocity and innovation.
Whatever we can do to keep it moving forward without really throwing the bulk of people off the boat, but we definitely want to keep it moving forward to the best of our ability. My 2 cents to throw into the conversation. Yeah.
That's very helpful to know. Yeah, you're right in terms of like, I mean, there are different pieces of this conversation, different kinds of stakeholders. I mean, there's storage vendors, there's distributions, and representatives from across, including users that are probably doing their own thing as well. So I mean, so it's hard to kind of pinpoint and say these are the releases we care about. I think that's been one of the problems. In the past, we tried to do that with saying, all right, we had the upstream stable branch maintenance policy, and that goes to 3 releases back. And then there is the extended maintenance policy for projects like Cinder and for projects like Manila, where distributions and vendors can still backport some changes, but testing is going to be at best effort. And we used to try to have that best effort always, is kind of the point, I think. So we've got to make those realistic changes now.
But I think there's something else to maybe consider in the conversation, and it's just kind of a footnote. I don't know if you have a parking lot that you bring up other topics later, but just kind of a footnote to the whole thing is the feedback we also hear is it takes so long to get a release certified that the certification process isn't consistent with what's actually shipping at the time. So that's a slowing factor in getting people on the latest. And they talk a big game about how difficult it is to upgrade. Now, I don't know personally how difficult that is, but the more weight we can take off of roadblocks to upgrading and roadblocks to certification, that alone will help create momentum. And I don't know, obviously you're just talking a moment ago about all of the other demands on this team and other people supporting this platform, but if you can remove those barriers to moving people forward, I think that alleviates pain in other areas. Just, again, footnote to history, things to consider for another time. Thanks.
Yep, makes sense. And I think that's, I mean, the specific thing about upgrade, it's gotten better and easier, and it's getting better every cycle. But yeah, of course, I mean, I think there are some perception battles as well that we fight with end users, partners, etc. So yeah, let's discuss more of this. I think I'll try to wedge in one of these topics about the stable branch maintenance, at least as we have time for the rest of the week. But this has actually been great feedback and conversation for this session. We're already over 8 minutes. Thank you all for staying longer than expected. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we close this out? Awesome. Great. So we have no sessions in this room tomorrow. There are no Manila sessions planned tomorrow, but there are some other things that are going on elsewhere in the community. Please join them and get us feedback from them, for instance, if it affects us. And we'll see each other on Wednesday at 1400 UTC back in this room. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.